Okay, so this is now the third time that I'm trying to film this, so I really hope it works out this time, because if it doesn't, I'm just going to have to go with whatever comes out. So here we go. So first of all, I use my Anastasia Brow Wiz, and I'm using the spoolie bit at the end, and I'm just going to brush down my eyebrows so I can see the upper line. And I don't tend to go for a really kind of heavy, strong brow. I just want to kind of make my own brow shape look as kind of just groomed as possible, really. I'm not kind of trying to add or too much. So I just kind of brush down to see where my natural line is. And then I'm using my Shivata brush, which is very, very fine and angled and quite comes to a really nice point at the end. So I'm going to use that with my Anastasia Dip Brow Pomade in chocolate, which I've written about, so I will link it below. And I'm just going to put a little bit on the brush, and I'm going to start at the point where I want my arch to be the highest, because I'm not really going for the big heavy look, as I said. So I'm just going to start where I want my point to be at the highest, and just kind of draw in that arch there, and then use whatever is left on the brush to kind of take it across. And I'm staying within the lines of my brow. I'm not kind of making it higher or lower or anything like that, really. I don't really have too much of a major problem with my brows. So I'm just kind of, as I said, I'm just defining them. So that is the upper line really done. And then I'm using whatever is left on the brush to kind of just gently fill in the major part of the brow from the tips to the end. And because this brush is so pointed, I can really kind of go down to the tip there and get a really sleek finish to the tip of my brow. So I'm just continuing to just kind of almost brush my brows through with this brush, although it's not really meant for that, with whatever product is left on the brush. And it kind of gives an almost kind of ombre effect, so it's kind of darker at the top and mostly at the actual arch where I want the emphasis to be. And then as I kind of come down with whatever's left on my brush, it's a slightly kind of lighter effect. It's not such a heavy drawn in effect. So that is the upper part of my brow done. And then what I like to do is brush up. So I'm using, again, the spoolie part of my Anastasia Brow Wiz, and I'm just kind of brushing back up again so that it just looks a lot more natural, and it kind of just covers the line that I've drawn. And then using the pencil part of the pencil end of the Anastasia Brow Wiz, and it's really, really pointed and fine, so you can almost mimic the hairs just at the ends here, and the inner part of my brow where I'm a little bit lacking. You can see I'm just filling in the gaps there. And because I'm using it very lightly and just literally kind of feathering it in, it's almost as if I am just drawing in the light hairs. You can't really see what I'm doing, but hopefully you get the idea. And wherever I feel I just need to kind of fill in a bit, that's really what I'm doing. So that's that. And then I'll just use the fluffy part of my Real Techniques eyebrow brush to just brush it through. And I could have just used the Anastasia one again, but I decided to use this one. And if I'm after a little bit of extra definition kind of around the brows, then I'll use a concealer, or at the moment I'm using this Benefit It Stick, just to kind of go underneath the brow with a little bit of concealer or this, and then I'll go above the brow as well. You can't really see what I'm doing, can you? Should be left-handed, shouldn't I? Just a little bit above the brows there, so that it just kind of gives it a slightly sharper edge. And then I'll blend that in with a concealer brush. This is my Precision Concealer Brush by Chantecaille. And I'm just going to blend that in a little bit there. So it just kind of, like certainly if I'm going out in the evening and I want a kind of sharper, more defined brow, then I'll just define it like this. Really, it ought to be left-handed, I can't do it that way. But if you can see, I'm just blending in that line, and it kind of just gives a little bit of definition because the skin around it is lighter. It gives it a very clean look to the brow. If you made a mistake, you can always just clean it up with a little bit of concealer underneath. There is a school of thought that you actually do the definition first and then do your brow, but I can be quite cat-handed when I do my brows sometimes, so I'd rather do it after and just get that definition afterwards, and it allows me to kind of clean up any mistakes that I might have made. And I sometimes take it up there as well, just to kind of finish off the inner part of the brow. So I don't know if you can see, I can see that that's made a difference. I'm hoping that you can see that that's made a little bit of a difference as well. And then, just to keep my eyebrows in place all day, I use a brow gel. I have used the by Terry one in the past, and I've written about it. It's the Tint Brush Fix Up Gel by Terry, and I'll link it below. Actually, at the moment, I'm using the Eyebrow Brow Gel, and I just love the tiny little brush. It's really pointed at the end, and this one is slightly tinted. I don't know if it has a shade on it or not. It could just be one shade, and I just run that through the brows, and it just kind of gives them that final polish, and it keeps them in place all day, and it keeps my brow pomade, sorry, that's the phone, and it keeps my brow pomade as well, or the colour that I've applied to my brows, in place all day as well. And I just kind of like that glossy finish that it gives to my brows. You do have to scrape off on the neck of the tube a little bit because you don't want too much on there. And you can almost kind of reshape the brows a little bit with this. And I do sometimes just use this and not do anything else to the brows and just put this on, so it just kind of keeps them in place and it just has a little tint to it. So that is the finished brow, obviously, on my left-hand side. So I need to do the other side before I head out to meet the girls. And I hope that that has been helpful. I know it's a really odd one because I'm really close up to the camera, so you can kind of hear me talk and you can't really see my mouth move, so that's got to be really weird. But it's not a really heavy brow, and it's not changing the shape too much. But if you're kind of like me and you just need to groom the brow a little bit rather than kind of get really busy reshaping, then hopefully this has been helpful. I'm lucky that I have dark brows and also kind of not too scanty, really, because I never really did the whole kind of teenage plucking thing. When I was really young, I was about 8, and my grandmother made me promise that I would never pluck my brows, so I kind of never really have. So I owe quite a lot to my grandmother. Anyway, so that's the finished look. I hope this was useful. I'm sorry I skipped a week with my videos. It's just, this took so many times. I think I filmed this 3 times now. It's been a real labour of love, so I hope that it has been worth the wait. If you've got any questions, obviously leave me some comments down below, and do let me know what you'd like me to film next. I'm going to try and be a little bit more regular with my videos. I will leave you all my links below for Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all of that, so do connect to me, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!